Did you see the film, Chrissy?
Chrissy?
Is she under the paddle?
Remove
the paddle.
Silence.
Run away! Run away!
Brainy and Bizarre 28 years later shows zombie series running into dark, strange territory. So, did everybody see 28 years later?
Yes.
Yeah,
I did. I got a poster at the screening I went to.
Oh, you did?
Gonna probably throw in the trash, honestly. After.
Yeah. I could have taken one and decided not to go.
It had a lot more dongs in it than I was expecting.
Oh my god.
All the time. There were scenes where it panned down just to show you. It's like, well, it's still there.
Let's be clear. He was magnificent. All right. That was incredible. The actor stipulated, you better pan down. You need to show the world this. All right.
Most of it was blurry, thankfully.
Was that part of the audition? Did they want the alpha to have this giant friggin'
Well, or it's a prosthetic.
You're not going to have the alpha with a tiny penis. All right.
Dirk Diggler becomes a zombie in the UK.
I don't know about you guys. I am not a massive zombie fan in general. It's been almost 28 years since I last saw 28 Days Later, probably in the mid 2000s at some point. So I didn't rewatch it before going in. I like the movie fine, but I'm not a massive zombie movie guy. From the trailers and everything we saw, I expected a much different movie than we got. And after the first 30 minutes, I continued to expect kind of that movie. And I was interested in seeing this, little community that's been developed and what's going to take place there, and this kind of learning how to be a man in this society type of thing.
Oh my gosh. It's like listening to my own opinions in someone else's voice.
And then it, about 30 or 45 minutes and it goes a completely different direction. It was a really chaotic tone. And look, some of the chaotic editing, chaotic tone, like I get what you're trying to do. It was really off-putting to me. And I didn't love the story that they gave us instead, and some of it made little to no sense. And then all of a sudden, Ralph Fiennes shows up, covered in fucking iodine. And I think there are a lot of great performances. I just don't like the movie. I really don't.
Yeah, to me it was really meh, but it was very different to what the trailer promised. I was expecting a kind of Mannix fight for survival based on what the trailer is doing. The trailer also seemed to tease that there might have been a cult of humans worshipping.
I was thinking the same thing.
And that's who made these piles of skulls and stuff. And what we got was completely different.
Yes.
And in that sense,
I'm a wacky guy.
I think you'll hear a lot of, in the next two movies, I think that'll be the general excuse.
I don't care, because this was the one I paid to go see.
Yeah, that's the problem. I liked it. It was manic and weird, and it's three different movies pushed into one. It's definitely flawed, but Alfie Williams was so fucking good in it. It's the kid's story. It is 100% not what the trailer fucking sold you at all. Maybe in the first part of it. Then there's like three distinct different ideas that are put into this one movie to help world build. But I like the punk rock nature of it. I liked it was fucking kinetic and weird, and I like, I didn't mind that it was shot on fucking iPhones. I didn't care about any of that. I just think my only gripe was they did the dad dirty. Now this is I agree. This is a coming of age story, right? So you don't want the dad to be there helping him all the time. That would not be a very good coming of age story. But you would at least, as a dad, there's no way I would just sit around and wait for my kid to get back.
You would be going up.
You could have done a great little B plot. The editing is cool and choppy. So when they introduce, that's Danny Boyle.
I think a lot of it was
intentional.
It's very stylistic.
Yeah,
it's very
that's the style, man.
I thought the edit was
so fun. You either like it or you don't. But when they brought in PewDiePie, that came out of fucking nowhere. If you can do that, then you can have the dad going on a little sub journey that he doesn't find the kid maybe right away, but he's looking at least, not sitting on the fucking island. That's the one big problem I had.
Yeah. There was a line where we make just quickly, Chad, where we make no exceptions, no rescues. And it's like, well, you're his father. He won't care. He'll just do what the kid wants.
Yeah, I would not care. Fuck your rules. I guess I won't be coming back then.
And it would have been really good if he tried to actually escape, but then he runs into a horde of the infected that is about to assault the island. He can't get them, but he at least tries. And it could be even
at the end,
quite tragic that he's pushed back. But
Well, at the end, he does try, but he physically cannot cross the water because of the currents.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was
Yeah,
only
but
the
I mean,
notes that thought the kid was there.
before
That's
that.
way
So
too late, though. That's way
and plus
too
he
late.
just exits the story and they don't go back to him to maybe explain in a couple of little scenes like why he stayed at all.
I was massively frustrated by lots of little threads which were filtered in, which went nowhere. The dreams from the kids. Why was the mask from the first film used in the party for him returning? There's lots of little things which just seemed to be set up that went absolutely nowhere, which was, to me, this film in a nutshell.
Yeah.
When he was with his father, now there's nothing wrong with it not being that, but I thought what was going to happen is the father was either going to die and he was stranded there, and it was about him trying to survive, the kid trying to survive.
Yeah, using what his father taught him.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they were going to get split. And then it became the father trying to save the son, or trying to get back with the son and everything that's going on between them to get back to the island. So I thought, so when it didn't turn out to be that, I was like, okay. But then they went straight down the dad bad because cancer mum's dying of cancer and he wants to get his fuck on.
Oh,
So he's just like cast to one side. The mum and him go off to find Ralph Fiennes, who's the GP. And I'm just like, nothing is happening here. It's such a minuscule story that is spread out for 2 hours. So you have to throw in the like stupid things like the boat goes past and it's like, what's that? And it's like, oh, that'll be the French patrol. And then then they bump into then we get the soldiers and they're like, oh, we're Swedish.
So does the
did do a lot of running away.
Yeah, it's just a silly thing. Don't
I think a lot of us-
Just on the matter of the French, this movie technically retcons the second film.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Is
Yep.
does that retcon the second movie, which I didn't like? At
Yeah,
all.
'cause
Well,
if it does
they
cross
said
that,
they
does-
said
I
they
wouldn't care.
fought it back. So maybe it did get to Paris and they
Yeah.
fought it back to the coast, a la World War II, because it was about regression. There was lots of sort of themes about regression, but I don't think they worked because to me, that village where they had the defined roles and stuff like that, that felt like a more serene place, a more a place where they could actually grow up.
Not very believable.
Yeah, and then when they come up with Eric, and Eric's like, "Here's my fucking girlfriend. She's caked in makeup with Botox and lip
was
fillers
funny,
and
that
everything."
scene,
That was
Yeah, but
fucking funny,
to me,
dude.
that was like-
That was a
like
great
them
scene.
trying
That
to-
was.
They were trying to I thought that was them trying to say something about how we're developing. But then you listen to Alex Garland, and he's like, "Oh, it's actually about the scariness of regressing back to where we were in basic times." And I'm like, but you made the technology look like shit, and you made the progression of humanity look like shit. So how can regression be the enemy if progression is being displayed as
I think that's just a
vanity
creator not knowing what they made, like Starship Troopers. Really, it's
Yeah,
he trying to
that
say
scene was
society is regressing by doing those things.
Yeah.
This film is desperate to want to be meaningful, but doesn't
Yes.
know what
Yes.
message it wants to give.
It's trying to be an art film in several
like
places.
really
did.
came off with the mum skull scene. It's like the music is rising. It's trying to tell you this is
Find the best place
and
for
I'm
her of
watching. It's
all.
like this is not the message.
No, because I thought that was a damning indictment on pro-maid or pro-euthanasia.
Yes.
and I was
I don't
was
even
pretty
think that's
fucking
the mum.
disgusted about
I don't.
that.
I think that like the thematics of that aspect, I don't think are a problem. It's the execution and how much time it takes. And I think that of this film's many mistakes, I think one of them is that for all of the time that we have with the son and the mom, I never really got a grasp on what the relationship really was,
Yes,
other than
correct.
they love each other. Unfortunately, and I think it was a mistake to give her a terminal disease that kind of made her a bit loopy and her mind not quite there, because we lose a lot of time potentially learning about her perspective on things and how she views the world, how she views the father, how she remembers the way things used to be, because she's kind of not really herself half the time. But it seems to be that there's a lot of kind of consensus, at least so far, that I feel like the first third or so of the movie was easily its strongest. And that's certainly what got me excited for what
Yeah.
kind of a story they could tell.
Right.
You have this community. You have essentially the zombie apocalypse. You have the fact that the rest of the world, as far as we know, have beaten it back, but they're in quarantine. They see in the distance the fact that there are like modern boats and navies, but then we get world building questions like, why don't they communicate when they could easily do that?
Yeah.
Why
Why
don't
they go to
how
the
does
islands and-
how
yeah.
come a helicopter didn't just drop off some radios so that they
Right.
can communicate back and forth? That would be super easy and it would be very interesting.
I think they
But
set
the
up
idea-
to where
Super
How did the
I think that
technological ship run aground at that point too?
Why didn't they just take
no,
the
the
island back?
quarantine is a
It doesn't
quarantine. The quarantine is a quarantine, dude.
Yeah.
It is. Everybody there should die, and we can't risk it
But they-
getting out.
But they've clearly seen for many years that there is a community that is essentially thriving on this island and is getting their stuff together. And also, you're not breaking quarantine by flying a helicopter and dropping a crate full of radios and things to enable communication from a distance.
Yeah, but they don't care. Like that's
That's the thing. I don't.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, I
don't.
think
That
the
doesn't
mindset
make any
is-
sense to me.
They're keeping the
'Cause they're-
virus alive by
that's the
keeping
way
them
the world
alive
is,
longer.
Yeah,
I think the
it
mindset is
can
let
be-
them
Well, no,
die
but
as
if
soon
the-
as
if-
Yeah,
possible.
let them
in
die
the
out, and
real
it's going to
world-
take time. You know.
Well, then why didn't they just destroy it themselves? Why go through all the trouble?
Why not
So
nuke
they
it?
wouldn't have a movie.
Yeah, that's a good
Maybe,
question.
like, you wouldn't have a movie.
Because in-
There's a
because
lot
in-
of
Rags
there's a
has
lot
point.
of like
their world building should be consistent to make the.
It is.
world
No,
feel
they don't
more
care about
believable.
people.
guys.
You're
It'll
a
be
number
in the
to a
next
foreign government.
movie.
They care enough.
Derry, it'll be in
But
the,
the
comic
island,
book
they can
and
The
see
film
Bone Temple.
adaptation.
The
Look at
next movie, The Bone
It'll
Temple.
be in the comic book.
Yes, it will be in the
So-
comic book.
I've been trying to understand what the ultimate message of this film was and the reason why the mum decided to, allow herself to be.
The message was it's a coming of age story.
Well, I want like the reason why the mum decides to die seems like is that she's terminal cancer. She's only going
Got a
to
boy
slow the
becoming a
son
man.
down, and I need to leave him so he has a better chance of survival. So I'll let the doctor kill myself in this creepy way.
But she was the one that saved him, though. She was the one
Exactly.
that saved him.
That's completely contradicted by the fact the son would have died if the mum wasn't there to help him
Yes.
out. And so
we don't even know if she knows she did that though.
Yeah, I don't think she knows
that's
that, yeah. No,
that's
she
one of
didn't
many
know. She-
loose threads which actually set
Yeah.
up something interesting
Yeah,
and
I
then
think it was a
never
mistake.
explored it.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
think
it
this
was
is
a
why
mistake to
this is
give her
why I
that
don't
happen.
think
condition.
this is why I don't think she's actually dead. If you look at the skull, there's a V shape on it, and I think he just lied to her about the cancer, and she will genuinely be in the next movie. And it'll turn out he's experimenting or something. Because this is the thing: every single other plot thread in this entire movie.
That would actually be interesting. I actually like that idea.
It would have been
Literally
nice to
every
learn
single other
something
thing in
about
this movie
guy.
was set up for the future. There was
Well,
no
I-
thing that was actually done, and so you have all this stuff where you had him with all his bodies. He's a doctor. He knew exactly all about the virus. He was very interested in her more than anything else.
Yeah, because she's been bit. I thought she'd been bit and she hasn't turned.
If she's
that's
immune or
why-
something, and
Yeah.
I think he's experimenting on
Yeah.
people, which is where the bodies are coming from.
So we can explain why they didn't nuke it. Hang on. I'll explain why they didn't nuke it. So
have to be nuked.
British Isles, pretty big. I mean, not entirely, but let's say size of Texas. Nuking something completely the size of Texas, what do you think that would do to the world? A lot of bombs get dropped, you get a nuclear winter.
Yeah.
Well, why would you do
So-
that? Why would you nuke it?
Yeah, I thought we were just about the little island.
Just
not
set up
all
a
of
base.
the
Because they
UK.
can
You
clearly
like,
see that
why
there
not
is
just
a
like
community for being
send
a
troops in there with fucking flamethrowers and
Yes,
stuff? It's like,
yes.
yeah, but that risks getting them
just-
sick
yeah, you
too.
don't-
Luke Caverns did the estimate, like there would be 50 million zombies on that island.
What?
That's a lot of
This is-
zombies.
Yeah, this is why the
Wow.
retconning of the second movie is a bit problematic because the second movie established pretty clearly that the zombies will starve to death, and that's why they try and resettle it.
Well, the
But
first
that's not the
movie-
case
well, now the-
anymore.
But they didn't eat the deer
Now-
for some
now-
reason. The deer
yes,
population blew up. That's what I didn't understand.
They love deer.
Now that's retcon because the zombies are thriving apparently, and even
It'll be in the next
breeding,
movie.
right?
Breeding.
Hold on.
They're eating their own babies.
Let's. I don't know if to say the zombies are thriving is really true because we hear the dad tell stories earlier about when they first went over there and they were foraging and it was crawling with the infected, and they do very much seem to imply that it's much kind of safer to go on.
Like
It's
they
not- there's
shrunk
not as
to
many
a
zombies everywhere,
sustainable size.
and that
They're
is
running-
probably what's led to some of these other types being like created, these other types of zombies that now exist because of those
That are a bit more
struggles.
survivable. But yeah, so the second movie was pretty clear that they all starved to death and died out, but that's not the case. And then the the fact that it got out in France at the end of the film, and then they're just forgetting that, because the quarantine would have been justified by the end of the second film, because they let 2 people out in the helicopter, the kids, and one of those kids was a carrier that they couldn't tell. And of course, that's how the virus supposedly gets out. And that would justify, we can't let anyone out of Britain because it turns out there could be a carrier that we can't detect. And then that would force the quarantine.
The zombies on the island were quarantining it. This is perfectly logical.
Right.
To quarantine the island makes sense, totally. That part makes sense. I can believe they wouldn't want to have any half measures in that regard. Based off of the first third of this movie, I was super curious to learn about how this society operates. Where do people see themselves in terms of roles? How do they survive? How do they attempt to thrive? How do they make do with some things and without some other things? I thought that was potentially interesting, especially given the fact that you have a father and a son. Yeah, like a father and a son in their relationship, and the father clearly loves and is very proud of the son, but he's got this, he's got a wife and she's getting kind of loopy and crazy with cancer, and so he's unfaithful to her, and the son finds out and he's very defensive. Like that's an interesting dramatic kind of aspect to have, especially when you put it all in the context of you're on this isolated island and there's a whole bunch of zombies out there, and that kind of colors the entire thing. But I think once the son takes the mother out, it becomes like another film entirely, and it drastically drops off in terms of how interesting it is.
Yeah, because the father should have been there to try and redeem himself in his son's eyes.
Right. The rest of the movie only works if if a kid is making the decisions, because everything he decides is an awful decision.
It's pretty dumb. Yeah, he makes
he's got 10 arrows. He'll be fine.
They didn't at least explain why if the father didn't go out there, because if they had gone into something about how. Yeah, because if they were like, if the idea of no rescues, no one leaves the island without us knowing is like one of these incredibly like culturally sacrosanct kind of rules that's developed over the decades, I think you could pass that off as being a reason, especially because we don't know about the island's culture enough to know. And that was something I was kind of hoping to learn about. How do they view these rules? How do they view these things? Did someone try and do it before and something horrifically bad happened and it almost caused the destruction of the island through people getting in or the zombies getting in? I would have loved to know that, but I don't have anything to work with.
The father knew exactly where he was going because he took the mother with him. He'd actually asked him about the doctor, just seen about the cancer. He could go straight there.
I also think that Eric was completely wasted as a character. The idea of for instance, like the phone, right?
PewDiePie,
when he pulls out the phone and it's got 1%. I was like, well, think about it, actually, like narratively speaking. What if the phone was at like half charge?
That's relatable.
What could have happened? What could have happened if Eric actually had this phone and he was saving the power and he was showing Spike like, this is the outside world. Look at all these photos. Look at all these videos. This is what life is like for like a normal person out there, and how that would have like bridged the gap between these two essentially entirely different cultures. Especially with Spike being as young as he is, he doesn't know the way that the world used to be, and that would have created some really interesting kind of stuff there, especially connections between Eric's view of the world and Spike's view of the world. But they don't do anything that. It's basically, this woman is like, is a monstrosity. Isn't she weird? Like, lol. Then he throws the phone away. It's like, oh, I feel like we missed a whole lot by having these two characters connect about their completely different worlds that they live in.
So the soldier thing was just so silly.
They could have done something with it, but they didn't.
There's a couple of dumb moments as well. Like that explosion in their thing should have just killed the mum and kid.
Well, dude,
the dumbest thing in the movie to me,
it doesn't work like that. If it's an explosion, it doesn't go low.
I mean, aside from the dad stuff, that's the dumbest stuff.
The dumbest stuff is him taking his mom in that condition with him. I think that is like a huge.
That is very stupid.
A very even.
It is very stupid for a broken kid who just saw his dad cheat on his dying mom, and his only fucking world is them. And he found out, and he went out, and he didn't really do well on his fucking hunt, and he's like completely broken. Kids never do stupid things.
No, he knew, the kid knew that he would have died if his dad wasn't there to save him. He knows that. So taking his mother out there, I understand like there's that emotional like sort of I guess you could call it desperation.
It was stupid and desperate.
It
was stupid and desperate.
Yeah.
Because the opening section with the father sets up the threat. It gave some tension. And then when he goes with his mum, everything's just tickety-boo for the most part. And then he says to Ralph Fiennes, like, we had a very tough journey and it was really hard to find you. And it's like, no, You saw the fucking smoke. It's easy to find where you were,
and
your
he's burning
journey
it all the
wasn't even
time, by the way.
Yeah.
So
No, the thing that would have helped that scene is the dad going out after them.
Yes.
Or the
Yes.
son, convinces the dad to go with them to heaven.
I don't think the dad should go with the son. I think the son and the dad should be completely separate.
But I do think
I think it
like,
could work both ways. You could have like a Last of Us-esque situation where you have them out in this dangerous world and the old person is explaining to the new person and teaching them and everything. And by having them together, you can get the opportunity to give them a lot more dialogue and their perspectives on like the mom. It could work both either way. It's about execution in this case.
Yep. Garrett, put up this tweet because this kind of describes the movie perfectly.
We haven't even talked about the zombie baby yet. But when they did, I thought they did such a great job of building the rules of the community and the different roles, and even in the school, the things that they're all dedicated to doing, because that's just the way of life now. Like from the moment they're born into this society, there's a different level of responsibility, even assessed to 12, 13, 14-year-old boys than there is in our society today. So when you look at a decision like this, it does, like, you have to look through it in a different lens.
It's a rite of passage. Essentially, what he's going to is rite of passage.
Well, normally it happens at 14 or 15, they say.
Right.
But Spike is 12, which is like, that's a potentially year age. That's a big deal. We never got why the island would allow him to take a 12-year-old out there instead of having him wait like all the others did. So but
it would have made more sense if his rite of passage was to get a deer back to the fucking, community and take out any zombies along the way. But they were literally just going out to kill a zombie.
Well, I think that was the rite of passage.
Productive to the
the rite of passage is kill a zombie.
To killing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, get used to killing. You have to show that you have the capability to kill zombies. That is the rite of passage.
And you can do that with killing a deer as well. And you kill any zombies.
Well, I think killing
but I think that you have to carry it and everything like that. And then
we've come to the topic that I wanted to discuss a bit, which is these zombies. They want to try and portray them as really hard to kill, except they're actually not. When it's convenient, they're suddenly ninjas can take them apart with weapons easy and stuff like that.
Well, no,
that frustrates me, because for a good zombie film, I think you need to be really consistent with how dangerous these things are.
Right.
And holy crap, these low poundage hunting bows are blowing apart their skulls like they were shot from a ballista. That was just a kill. And I'm watching this whole film like, why the hell don't you have a machete or a backup melee weapon when you run out of arrows?
Right.
It's a really obvious thing.
Well, I think the reason why they want to do that,
did they not watch Train to Busan?
Right.
Because the infection I think is the reason why they don't want to do anything melee wise. What they want to keep it at range, because remember,
that's another inconsistency, comics, because when if that blood gets anywhere in your eye or anything, wear some covering, because that blood was spraying everywhere.
Especially if the zombies have their period.
So another thing there's Deus Ex Machina that happens in this movie, all over the place. And then when Ralph Fiennes' character, I like that scene, but then he's all, okay, it's time for you to go back, and he just makes it back.
Yeah.
Because he only told him to go back when he realized that the alpha was hunting the baby.
Yes.
So now he's like, I want your entire town wiped out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's again, that's set up for the next movie, which is terrible, by the way. Just
every single thread in this goes nowhere in this movie and only goes to the next one.
And the next movie is directed by Nia DaCosta, by the way.
But it's not setting up the next movie, because the next movie, it seems to all be about Jimmy. The bookmark is Jimmy.
This is mystery box television in movie form.
I gotta say, one of the things that frustrated me so much is that they don't kill the alpha when they subdue it with the thing.
I know.
It's like,
again, they're keeping him. The doctor wants to keep him alive, obviously, but
they should have explained it. Like,
he's a unit.
They need to explain it, because a couple of more of those fucking darts would have killed him easily.
Mike should have asked, how come we don't kill it?
Exactly.
It killed Eric.
Exactly.
Well, this is why they had to have a child as the main actor, because it gets you away from a lot of those questions, gets you away from him making proper decisions or being suspicious about this guy that he's found for.
I feel like Spike would have asked, why aren't we killing this guy? Well, how come we're not killing this zombie that's tried to kill us twice, almost succeeded, and killed Eric? And we put him to sleep twice, and we're just letting him live? What, like, come on. I'm 12, and even I'm like...
I mean, he let a guy kill his mom and was fine with it, so that guy, he was a great actor, but his character was a right idiot in the movie.
Yeah, he was drugged. He didn't let it happen. He got hit with a blow.
He was drugged.
When he got given the skull, he was fine with it.
No, that was afterwards.
Maybe I'd hold a grudge.
That was afterwards. Yeah.
And also, he was like,
maybe
"This
you'd
was my
hold a
mom's
grudge.
decision." Well, no, it was understood that this was my mom's decision to do that, and they explained that with the thematics of the way that you
Would
die.
you
and
accept
dying
that?
with
And if
love.
you have brain cancer
my mo-
metastasizing
if
throughout
my
your whole
mom-
body, you want to go out on morphine. You
yeah,
really
I
do.
would. I'd be.
No,
Yeah,
but
if
if
it
you
was
just
my
met a
mom.
random stranger and then he knocks you out and then you got given the skull of your mom, you'd be like, oh yeah, she definitely
No,
decided this.
he watched them make that decision. They talked about this. She was watching all this happen. The mother was like, "Remember, we just talked about like a second ago how I'm gonna die. It's just a matter of how I'm going to die. I love you,
Right.
you love me. I'm gonna have a horrific death through cancer. My brain's gonna stop working. Best to die now while I'm making the decision, and I am myself, and we can both."
And dying
like,
in your
accept that
sleep
love.
around loved ones is the best way to go. They had, they had the whole conversation.
I'm not letting
I
the
think
guy
their
that gives me the
plan-
skull of my mom to get away with it.
Their plan for the alpha was a long game to take him out. They're going to take him out on a rape accusation. They're just they're biding their time.
He did say he didn't want to be alone with those bones.
Chrissy, what did you think of the alpha?
He's
Very impressive.
If I had
was
to with one of them, if someone was like, "Look, this can all be over, Chrissy, if you have sex with one of the zombies," I would be like, "All right, fine."
Comics, you're right. Like, you want to keep it at a distance, but they close the distance a lot. So I would be decked out in thick armor, and it has to be padded. Yeah, like you can
got all
pad
those
it up.
swords,
They can't bite
Dad.
through thick cloth, right? And then have a
That's a
friggin'
human.
machete or sword or something, because they showed that you can take these things out pretty easy when they're close range with a
A
machete.
well-placed
with a
arrow.
I think
baseball
honestly,
bat.
probably a spear shot would be more effective in this
No,
circumstance.
what you need
A boar
is a
spear,
group
a boar
of people
spear.
dressed like the Teletubbies doing fucking anime shit.
What's
Yeah, that was bonkers. That was like
That
we
was
get to the new
Out
film
of
now.
nowhere.
Yeah, I think overall the first third could have was kind of setting some interesting stuff up that I was legitimately wanting to know more about, and then two different movies that were not particularly good at all kind of happened after the first act, and there were points of this movie where I was just kind of like tapping my foot, going, "All right, I'm kind of hoping something happens here." We spent a lot of time with this doctor, and yet I don't feel like we really have had anything interesting really happen with him yet. Okay. So,
The dad not being part of the story at all in any way is like the biggest.
dropping him after
That's
the
the
first
biggest
act was a
problem.
mistake.
You can do a couple things, right? You can have him go out there regardless and try to save him, and even maybe die trying to you can do a lot of things like that. And I get it. I get you want the kid to have his right. He went through his rite of passage to become a man in this community. And then he gets home, and the person that he's always looked up to as a man not only is getting super drunk, but also lying about what happened out there. And then you see him do this thing, to your mom, basically. And you feel completely shocked and blown away. So you're going on something to save your mom, to be the man, right? We get to see this journey, which might go according to plan, might not. But for the dad to not either go out there, or a 10-minute subplot where he brings
learn
in the
why,
council leaders and asks them out there, and he's arguing, and you're learning more about this community that's built and why these things are this way, and whether he ignores them or decides to stay there. Conversations with the father, who's still there too. Like, that stuff is absent from the movie that I feel like could have helped a lot.
I definitely agree, because the dad is he's such an interesting character with what we get of him. He's capable and competent. He loves his son to the point where he'll even big up his son. He reassures his son when the son, when they're in the attic of the building, and the son's like, "Oh, I couldn't do it." But he's flawed, He's got a wife who's got a lot of problems. He's unfaithful to her, but he's he's angry about that. He knows that it's not the right thing to do, but he still has this relationship with his son. I wanted more of the dad. What does he do after this happens? How does he redeem himself, or what does he do with the son? But he got dropped.
That's the inherent problem. Is it's a part one.
Yeah,
it's a fucking part one.
Yeah, it's a setup.
It's one of the plot threads to be the main focal point in the end of the movie. So whether they bring the baby back and then there's a big war for the town and they kill the alpha at the end, or whether you find out what the bones are and what this guy is, you had to make one of these many threads. You can leave the rest of the future, but something had to be the point of the movie.
The baby is going to be special in some way in the sequels. She's going to be immune to the virus, or she'll have some greater strength or something like that. The baby's going to become a character.
There's a lot of older I'm with Ryan. The zombie genre is not my favorite. I like some zombie movies. I think there's some really cool ones, but I'm not a fan of the genre. But there's some I Am Legend in this, and definitely some Walking Dead. There's a mix of a lot of things. Even though 28 Days Later definitely relaunched the whole zombie fad. That's been going on. I've never been a super fan of the genre. like it's such a divisive movie. It's really interesting to see like who likes it, who doesn't. I don't think it's the best movie of the year.
And people are going to be fighting about this. Like it's going to be a really divisive. There's going to be some people that think it's like top tier.
But if I hear the
storytelling art, and there's going to be some people that hate it.
Yeah, but if I hear the fucking filmmakers come out, go like, I'm glad it's divisive. It's like, fuck yourself.
Fuck off. It's going to do really well.
IGN gave it 9 out of 10.
I think it's going to.
Yeah, they gave Star Wars Outlaws.
I do want to see the next one.
I think it's going to do really well opening weekend, and I'll be interesting to see what it does after that. Because I think a lot of people walked in expecting a very different movie.
Yeah,
great. Yeah. But it's not very reflective of what the movie itself.
75 million.
I think they should promote whoever made that trailer and just get him to make his own stuff because it was better than the movie.
The trailer was way better.
Well, you know what? You know what is a lot like 2014 Godzilla, which had a fucking banger, the Oppenheimer trailer that they did, where I Have Become Death. Remember that trailer?
Yeah,
that's one of the best fucking trailers ever made. And the movie was, it was fine. I liked it, but it did not live up to the trailer.
Yeah.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.